Well, I feel that I should at least talk about this. If you guys didn't know, all of the votes came in, and Mega Pidgeot is in fact banned from the UU tier now, and it moved up to the BL tier, which pretty much means it can only be used in OU, Ubers, and anything goes. Now, this ban here actually affects me as a player, and I really feel this here is a stupid decision right here to actually ban Mega Pidgeot from UU. It clearly shows that they don't have any understanding of how the game works, or they don't have any understanding of how their rules work, I should say. Sure, flying type attacks tend to be pretty powerful because they don't have a lot of resist, with the only things resisting it being what, rock and steel. But I mean, there are other things that are only resisted by like a couple of different types. But that's not the point though. The point is that they actually banned it from UU, not trying to understand anything about it. Like when I found out they was doing this, I made an account on the Small Gun forums trying to share my um, experience with using Mega Pidgeot. Since you guys know, I use it exclusively. And they were saying things like, once Pidgeot gets the confusion on you, it can't be stopped. It can go through any of its checks. It can generate its own whatever and do its own shenanigans and even beat its counters. But that's simply not the case. They had their arguments out there set like confusion is 100% guaranteed, and the chance that you will hit yourself is always 100% guaranteed. I mean, sure, I've had games where I had to rely on the confusion to win me the match, but I've also had games where I had to rely on Skull to cripple a +2 Dragonite just so I can survive and do my Vaporeon shenanigans. Like, I've had these things come up where I need to rely on secondary effects to win games, and there have been games that I've lost because I didn't get the secondary effect. We have to look at it. Confusion goes off 30% of the time. It's not guaranteed. Sure, it's a lot higher than what Signal Beam can offer, but that's just it. It's a 30% chance. It doesn't happen all the time, and when it does happen, there is still a chance you can attack. It's no different than paralyzing a Pokemon and that Pokemon not being able to attack for a couple turns. Like I had a video, I think it's up, where my Cresselia got paralyzed and it couldn't move for 5 turns. We should just ban every other attack that can paralyze too, since it can potentially take away games and stuff like that. Another thing that they actually fail to understand is that's pretty much the only thing it's got going for it. Like if it had like base 170 special attack, maybe 140 plus speed, and maybe other coverage moves, then yeah, I can understand where the ban came from. But it really only does one thing well, and it doesn't even do that one thing well because of the fact it gets walled by things like any Rotom, any bulky electric type, um, steel types, rock types, things like Blissey, pretty much any bulky tank for the most part, just completely walls it. And I just don't see where they're coming from with this, where they actually have all the checks and counters. It's like, sure, you might not be able to switch into it, but at this point in time, what exactly can switch into like Hoopa Unbound? I still haven't found a safe switch for that yet. Another thing that they really don't understand is that there are actually a lot of things in the tier that kind of check it extremely well. You got Mega Aerodactyl and things like base 150 speed, I think. I think it also has base 135 attack. That's pretty high, but it also has really powerful rock type moves. It's faster than everything else in the tier, and it doesn't respect Pidgeot at all. It can switch in if it doesn't get the confusion, then great. and then Pidgeot's forced to switch out because Pidgeot isn't going to survive a hit from Mega Aerodactyl or even outspeed it, since they are going to be running their maximum attack. Another argument that they said was that it breaks stall, and sure, I mean, any attacker at +6 will break stall, but that set is so hard to use that it's not even funny. Like, the set that they don't like because it breaks stall is Hurricane, Work Up, Roost, and Refresh. So if it does get status, it can heal itself while continuing to boost its stats. I've tried this set. I'm not saying the set doesn't work because it does, but in all the games that I've played, I wasn't able to use it effectively. I think there's only one game that I had, and it was off stream because I wanted to test the set, and I only got it to work in one game, and that's because my opponent insisted that their Chansey stayed in on my Pidgeot and let me get to +6, in which nothing else he had was able to take a Hurricane. But I wasn't able to use that on anything else. Mega Pidgeot isn't good at taking hits and will take, what, at least 60-70% from attacks. Like, it doesn't have the bulk enough to actually work a Roost set. And on my Pidgeot that I use in OU, I actually took Roost off of it and put Hurricane or Hidden Power Ground on it because it simply just wasn't able to live attacks. I will get hit with an attack and I'll knock out the Pokemon since I'm faster than the next one. I'll be like, hey, maybe I can live this attack at 80%. So I ruse to get my 50% back, go to 80, they hit me with a move, and I die in one hit. You know, it's simply just not taking attacks. Anything that can switch in on it switches on it well. It gets walled by a lot of stuff. It doesn't like priority just because the priority Pidgeot does have isn't effective. And that brings in the next point. Only thing Pidgeot has is a powerful Hurricane. With Stab, it has a 165 attack move that doesn't ever miss. That's all it has. If it had Focus Blast, I would not be opposed to it being instantly OU. If it had Boom Burst, I would not be opposed to it instantly being OU. If it had something like Sing, or my favorite, Quiver Dance, I would not be opposed to it being instantly OU because it has tools it can use to gimp its matchups. But Mega's Pidgeot's only tool to gimp its matchup is Hurricane, and that's not reliable 70% of the time. And then if you do get the confusion, they have to attack themselves, which isn't guaranteed. You know, Pidgeot is not like other Megas to where it's good before it megas and is good after it megas. Like, if you're using Mega Pidgeot, you're using it for the sole purpose of being Mega Pidgeot, unless you have a physical set. But if you're using a Mega Pidgeot, you're not going to leave it as Pidgeot for, you know, 1 or 2 turns, because all of its abilities are based around accuracy anyway. So what's the point in using Keen Eyes or Tangled Feet when you could just be like, you know what, I'm gonna go balls in, no guard, Hurricane everything. You know, if Pidgeot had a strong flying type priority move that was special, then I could see it being a little bit of a threat. If it had a strong U-turn like move that was special, that it got stabbed with, I can understand it. But you know, it's simply not like Mega Manectric. It's not like Mega Beedrill. It's not like Charizard or the other Megas that got abilities that increase their damage output. You know, Mega Pidgeot simply just doesn't miss. That's all it does. And that's a two-way sword because no guard works against it as well. Mega Aerodactyl just throws a Stone Edge out and it dies. Anything that's faster than it in the tier, we got Mega Beedrill, um, Mega Aerodactyl. I think those are the only two things that are faster than it. There might be another Pokemon that's faster than it in UU that outspeeds it, and those deal with Mega Beedrill quite, or Mega Pidgeot quite nicely. Pidgeot doesn't appreciate a poison jab from um, Mega Beedrill. I think even its U-turn does about 40% to Mega Pidgeot, and then it just comes back in poison jab and knocks it out. Their argument was that it's faster than most of the tier and can hit them hard. It's like, well, Mega Beedrill is faster than Pidgeot. Mega Aerodactyl is faster. So by definition, those two Pokemon are faster than everything else, including Pidgeot. So what's the argument? They say, well, Beedrill has switch-ins. There isn't a switch-in for a Poison Jab that's not a Steel type. That's simply it. Anything that resists is still going to take 40% from that hit, and then get an additional maybe 30 to like maybe 27 to 33% on the U-turn, and then it comes back in and knocks them out. Nothing in UU appreciates a Stone Edge unless you're a bulky ground type. Like, I don't know if Swampert UU. It might be though, but I mean that's pretty much it. And then on top of that, it has the hone claws that it needs to increase its accuracy if it does predict a switch out. The thing is Mega Pidgeot doesn't do anything else in the tier that any other Pokemon doesn't do. You can't say, well, Pidgeot breaks stall. It's like, so I have a Flet Cinder that I can plus six on that I can plus six with and 6-0 stall with. I've 6-0 stalled with a bunch of Pokemon at plus six. Mega Pidgeot isn't the only example. The problem is with it is that it's just fast enough, but I mean I've got priority on my side. I even told them that, well, you can just use a Jolteon on your team because I like to have electric types on my team. I like to have fast electric types. So I was like, well, Mega Pidgeot doesn't give me any problems because I just send in Jolteon and Thunderbolt. I either force it out or it stays in and eats a Thunderbolt or a Volt Switch, and then it's going to go down. That's just what's going to happen. And they say, well, Jolteon's not UU. Excuse me. They say Jolteon's not UU. It's RU. I'm like, well, I don't care about that. You have options to deal with Mega Pidgeot, and if you don't want to use them, then it's your own fault. It's just like these people tell me. It's like, well, if you don't want to use Defog or Rock Slide or Defog or Rapid Spin, then you deserve to lose the Stealth Rocks if you don't want to deal with it. But then when I present them to them the exact same argument, they say, oh well, I've got I don't want to put things on my team just to deal with a Pokemon because that's over centralizing. When we got things like Stealth Rocks, which are over centralizing and restrict team building and everything else that they ban things for, and things like Dragon Dance that should be banned because it's just too good a boost move. What else was I going to say? I mean, like the thing is that Pidgeot has a lot of answers. Sure, it takes a crap on a lot of things in every single tier. I mean, what Mega doesn't, what Fast Mega doesn't, I should say. But there are options, and the confusion is probably one of the perks for the move. Sometimes I find myself relying on the confusion if I can get it, but I mean that's not my reason for using it. I mean, there's just no other reason to use it. I mean, I could do the exact same thing with Air Slash, and I can flinch you a bunch of times in a row, and you're probably still saying that we got to ban it because its flinch chance is too good. It's just not too good. You just don't want to deal with it. And that's the thing that it comes down to. Every time they suspect a Pokemon, it automatically gets banned because they don't want to deal with it. They say, hey, this Pokemon is a threat to my team, the Pokemon that I like using, so we need to ban it. And then it just creates another problem. Like, I've always felt that flying types, or they consider flying types to be extremely powerful in their tiers because nobody uses flying types and nobody feels the need to use checks to flying types because Stealth Rocks is around. Nobody is going to use a type that's going to switch in, lose 25 to 50% of their health, and not be decently prepared for it, I guess, because they lose. It's a disadvantage to you as a player to use a Pokemon that's going to lose 25 to 50% of their health on switching in, so they don't feel the need to bring checks or anything to deal with those types. The thing is about Mega Pidgeot is it's not like you have to use some obscure Pokemon just to deal with it. All of Pidgeot's checks and counters in UU are really good. If you move down the tier list, Pidgeot also has really good checks and counters. Like, Pidgeot doesn't want to see a max speed Jolteon because that just instantly knocks it out. There are a lot of ways to deal with it. Pidgeot doesn't like status. Sure, if you're using the refresh set where your only attacking move is Hurricane, then you um, can kind of cure yourself. You can heal yourself of the status, but not all Pidgeots run the workup set. I feel that Pidgeot or Mega Pidgeot, in my opinion, is better as just a straight up all out attacker because it's not bulky enough to reliably use Roost. I mean, if you can catch something like a Bisharp on the switch or a Pokemon that wants to sucker punch you, you can Roost on that and then hit him with a Hurricane next turn. But I feel the coverage Pidgeot set is a lot better to use. And this set here deals with a lot of stuff, like every other attacking set does. But that's about it. Somebody switches in something like a Calm Mind Pokemon on you, you have to take that into account. You're not going to stay in on that because they're going to +6 on you, and then you're going to lose. That's simply the most common way that I've ever lost using Mega Pidgeot. Is they switched in something that I wasn't able to switch out on, and I had to try to rely on confusion, but never got it. And that's the way it went in most of my games. If I got it in that one game, then great. It means that I'm able to do something because my opponent is not going to be able to +6 on me and get the win. I don't know. Like, this ban affects me as a player because I already get a bad reputation wherever I go for the most part. Whenever I play casual Pokemon with anybody and they look at my team when I battled them, they were like, "Oh, why are you using Zapdos? Why are you using Latias? I thought we were doing, a UU battle. This is my UU team. I didn't bring my OU team." I'm like, "Look, I don't care what team you bring. I'm going to use the Pokemon I like, and I expect you to use the Pokemon that you like. If you want to use a UU team, a RU team, or a not fully evolved team, then that's your own problem. Don't expect me to follow your rules." Sure, when I play on Showdown, I have to follow their rules because that's just generally where the best players are. But now this just adds another curveball because if I use Mega Pidgeot against somebody, there's a chance they'll disconnect against me and consider me as a noob player because I'm using a banned Pokemon. And that's simply what it is. So, Small they'll tell you, well, our tiers aren't official and they only you only have to follow them in our metagame. But the thing is, though, is next to Nintendo's official metagame where everything is legal, Smogon has the only other meta. So it's either you play official Nintendo rules or you play Smogon's rules. And that kind of hurts me because most of my Pokemon that I like are playable in OU. And I have to use them in OU just because that's just where they happen to be on their tier list. I couldn't challenge somebody to a Pokemon battle with a UU with who plays exclusively UU and not be able to use my Zapdos, for example. So every battle that I do has to be OU, and that's incredibly boring to me. And I wish other people wouldn't give so much respect to the list because it does hinder certain people as a player. This means that I can't play in any UU battle. And I won't play in any UU battle because there are no Pokemon that I like in UU that I can't use in OU. Or Uber for that matter. I don't know. I just don't get how they choose to ban things. I provided them with damage calcs and everything else, trying to say, hey, you're overestimating Pidgeot's abilities, and that's all they did the entire time during the suspect test. Well, my hyper offensive team can't deal with it. It's like, well, if you want to play a hyper offensive team, then you deserve to get swept by a Mega Pidgeot. Just like you deserve to get swept by anything else that completely shits on hyper offense. It's like people feel like they have to play one of three play styles. By default, my team fits Smogon's balanced team making because I feel that's the best way I want to play. I like to have sweepers. I like to have Pokemon that can take hits, and I like to have maybe one Pokemon that can try to set up on something. That's just generally my team structure. Everybody else's teams are either straight offense, where these Pokemon can't take hits to begin with, or they're completely stall based, where their teams are filled with nothing but tanky Pokemon that strive to just set up and beat you that way. And they say, well, Mega Pidgeot, it breaks balanced teams as well. Yeah, I've never seen an instance where a Mega Pidgeot broke a balanced team. My Mega Pidgeot never breaks a balanced team. Sure, I have ways of getting in and dealing with things, but it's not like, somebody wants to use a balanced team and, I send in Mega Pidgeot and it's instantly a game over. Mega Pidgeot simply doesn't have that. For one, it lacks the power. It simply does. Base 135 special attack is simply not good. Why? Because it has a very awkward speed tier of base 121, to where if you don't run max speed, you're slower than anything that's at least base 108, I think. Yeah, because you're slower than things like Terrakion, Virizion, Keldeo, and the other one, Cobalion. Like, you're slower than anything that's at least base 108 max speed, beneficial nature, because you're running like 342 speed or something. It's some really awkward number like that. So you're forced to run max speed, which means you sacrifice Pidgeot's 402 special attack stat. So you have to run something like 370, or this might be like 380 something. I could bring it up here. Wow, it's actually worse than that. Actually, you're forced to run 369 special attack versus 405 max special attack. So you have to completely gimp your attack stat just to be able to run max speed. And actually, I take that back about its speed. It's only 341 at just max speed if you want to use max special attack Pidgeot. So like if Pidgeot were something like I said, base 170, to where you don't have to run attack beneficial nature to just be able to completely destroy something to be different. But all of its stats fall into a very awkward category, to where it's simply not just a threat to begin with. Like, I'm not going to underestimate Mega Pidgeot because it is a good Mega. It hits things really hard, and the only thing that really resists its stab are electric types, rock types, and steel types. Now, we should also keep in mind that these types are also extremely bulky. If a Zapdos switches in on your Hurricane and doesn't get confused, you're switching out. If a Zapdos does switches in on your Hurricane and it does get confused, you're still switching out. You're not going to leave Mega Pidgeot in against a Zapdos and try to see if you can take it down via coin flip. You're simply not going to do that. You're going to switch into a more appropriate matchup. Same thing with the Rotoms. No Rotom is going to switch in on Mega Pidgeot. Or, no, I take that back. Every Rotom is going to switch in on Mega Pidgeot except for um, the Mo Rotom, because it takes neutral from Hurricane, and it's not going to appreciate that really well. But most Rotoms take like 23% from Hurricane. Whether or not you get the confusion, you're not staying in on it, especially considering most Rotoms tend to be scarfed. So, I mean, when you just look at everything that Pidgeot has going against it, I simply just don't understand how they can say, well, Pidgeot has no switch-ins. Well, it has a bunch of switch-ins. You've got Pokemon in UU that are just naturally good against it. Nobody uses Empoleon because they use it to counter Mega Pidgeot. Nobody uses Mega Aerodactyl because they have to counter Pidgeot. Nobody uses, the fast electric types that they have in a tier because they have to counter Mega Pidgeot. These Pokemon are just good by themselves. And the only thing the banning of Mega Pidgeot did was make other Pokemon that are powerful. It takes away their checks now. Because Pangoro is a very powerful attacker. It also lacks Sucker Punch. So Mega Pidgeot checks that pretty well. Mega Pidgeot can't switch into any of its attacks, but it can come in on it on a very good prediction or on a knockout and either force it out or knock it out. That's simply what it does. But all thing they did was completely take away that dynamic, and now Pokemon like Pangoro, Shaman, and other things are pretty much going to go unchecked because they don't have to worry about a powerful Hurricane coming at them anymore, while they can still play their extremely powerful games. The only other Pokemon left in the tier that can actually deal with those Pokemon is Mega Aerodactyl. And let's keep in mind that Mega Aerodactyl is actually far bulkier than Mega Pidgeot is, and more powerful. Let me see. I'm just gonna bring it up real quick because I don't remember exactly how much better Mega Aerodactyl is. Mega Aerodactyl. All right. Mega Aerodactyl has 80 base HP. Mega or Pidgeot is base 83, so Pidgeot has a little bit more HP. It has 135 attack, which is the exact same as Pidgeot's special attack. It has base 85 defense versus Pidgeot's 80 base defense. It has 70 special attack, which is, it doesn't matter. It's not special attacking anyway. It has 95 base special defense and 150 speed. Other than having no guard, Mega Aerodactyl is just. I mean, there's no reason to use Mega Pidgeot over Mega Aerodactyl if you're using it in this tier. It also has Tough Claws, which increases the power of its contact moves as well. So its Aerial Ace is pretty good. I don't think it has any other contact moves though. Like it's got Dragon Claw and a bunch of other stuff. They say it's not that great because its ability doesn't take advantage of its best stab, but it has a bunch of good stabs. It also has a bunch of really good attacks. It's got Hone Claws, so that takes care of the accuracy ability. It's got Iron Head, so it can take care of fairies quite effectively. I don't know. They just need to get their act together because I generally agreed with some of the bands that they have made before. I'm fine with the Greninja ban just because Greninja has a really good speed tier, 122 I think it is. It's got protein and really good meta moves. I was fine with the Mega Kangaskhan ban just because it does everything really well. And it's extremely useful before it megas. I was okay with some of the other bands. Like I personally didn't agree with the Greninja because Greninja doesn't really affect my team. But I agree with the ban. King Shield is a stupid move, and I agree with that. Um, and even with Mega Mawile, I don't have any problems with it. I mean, it's really slow. Anything with burn takes care of it. Most teams have a way to deal with that. And I guess I'm also fine with that because the fairy steel typing has got sucker punch, so it can deal with a lot of things. And I was okay with that. A lot of their bands I'm generally fine with, but a lot of their bands nowadays is simply just, well, this Pokemon breaks my team, so we need to ban it. Rather than finding a way to deal with it, they just want to ban it. They'll tell you, it's like, well, it's over centralizing the game. You have to have things on your team to deal with it. It's like, well, Stealth Rock does the exact same thing, yet you didn't get rid of it. And, and my whole argument to them having to find something to deal with Mega Pidgeot is well, you're not going to go into any tournament and not prepare for the top threats. If I'm playing in a Tekken tournament, I'm not going to not have ways to deal with Lars. I'm going to be able to deal with his bullshit. And if I don't have a way to deal with that, I'm not going to cry foul play and say we need to ban this character because it beat me. It's like, no, I'm going to learn ways to deal with the character. I'm going to develop techs that I can use to beat the character. Same thing in the trading card game. I'm not going to show up to a tournament and not be prepared for the top decks that I expect people to be playing. That's simply the way it works. And likewise, in the Pokemon video game, you don't build teams without first having ways to deal with those top threats. Like on my teams, I have to have something on my teams to deal with Clefable. I have to have something on my teams to deal with Heatran. I have to have something on my team to deal with Landorus. Those are three very common Pokemon that people use, and I have to have something on my team to deal with those Pokemon. I also need to have something on my team to deal with Ferrothorn, but I got three fire attackers, so that's a little bit easier to deal with. That's just built into the team. But those three Pokemon specifically, I have to have something on my team to deal with them because I don't. And when they do something, they are really good because I don't have any answers to it. And that's simply the same way that they should be treating Mega Pidgeot. Instead of banning it because you have no switch-ins, you do have switch-ins, you just don't want to use them. You don't want to have any opposition to your team, and that's simply not the way you play a game. Because all this does now is affects me as a casual player, and it also affects me as a competitive player. Because as a casual player, when I'm playing, against friends and stuff who don't play competitive, they use whatever they want, and I'm not going to tell them, oh, this Pokemon is banned by some imaginary tier list. I'd be like, use whatever you want, I use whatever I want. And while my teams tend to don't have things on it that people generally don't like I don't run around with things like Lugia or Ho-Oh. As a matter of fact, I do have Lugia and Ho-Oh on my team sometimes, but I generally don't run around with a lot of things that people simply just don't like out of respect just for them playing. But if you're going to challenge me to a UU team and then see that I have a Mega Pidgeot and you close your DS saying that you use the banned Pokemon, that simply affects my play experience, and I generally don't like that. This is a reason why I generally don't agree with a lot of the bans that they have been doing lately because they just completely warp the game. It's no secret that Smogon doesn't like Megas. They hate Megas. They do not like them. And the only Megas they want around are the ones that they have no problem in beating. The reason Mega Metagross didn't get banned is because they like it. It walls a lot of things. It's got good typing against fairy types, which they don't like, and goes on from there. It's got to have some value to them, and to them, Mega Pidgeot has no value to them because they can't use it effectively. And when it's used against them and they lose because of it, they have to cry foul play and be like, well, you only won because I wasn't able to do something. You only won because you got the confusion and I hit myself. It's like, well, too bad. That's simply what Pokemon is. It's a game of numbers. There's a chance that if you switch into my Hurricane, you're going to get confused. It's like there's a chance if you switch into my Thunderbolt or my Ice Beam or whatever, you're going to eat a secondary effect that's unfavorable to you. There's a chance that it happens. I'm not going to not play my game just so you don't get confused. But I think that's all I had to say about it. It just further proves to me that I'm dealing with nothing but a bunch of scrubs, and I simply don't like it. because this is it's affecting my gaming experience now, and I don't appreciate that. Um, we're going on 35 minutes already. Okay, so I must have been just rambling the whole time. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and end the video here. I just want to share my thoughts and opinions on the Mega Pidgeot ban. I think it's a stupid ban, and I don't know. Oh well, I mean, this is their meta. I don't know. Maybe I should just make my own meta where it's actually good, and things that get banned are because there are actually problems in the game, and not because people don't want to deal with it. But I guess I'll see you guys in the next video.